The bullet missed Bruno Catelli's head by 3 inches. 3 inches between a Mafia kingpin and a corpse. Anita Davila had never meant to be a part of this world, yet here she was, leaning across the table, whispering in perfect Sicilian, "Your wife sold you out. They're in position." Gianna Catelli didn't hear a word. She was still absorbed in her phone, plotting a death that only Anita knew was coming. Chaos erupted. Glass shattered. Screams tore through Alventi. The sniper had fired again. Anita pressed herself against Bruno's side, heart hammering, trying to disappear, trying to survive. He didn't flinch. Not yet. His eyes, cold and sharp as a blade, met hers. And in that second, something shifted, a fragile thread of trust forming in the middle of bullets, betrayal, and blood. This night would change everything. Hello, friends. Before we dive in, drop your city in the comments, let's connect. I'll like to see how far this story goes. And when we're done, rate this story from 0 to 10. Now, let's begin. Table 7 sat in the corner beneath the arched window, half shadowed by golden light. The man wore a black suit that fit like armor, his posture rigid, his jaw tight. Bruno Catelli. She didn't need to know his name to recognize what he was: power, control, danger distilled into flesh and bone. Beside him sat his wife. Gianna Catelli was the kind of beautiful that felt calculated, sharp cheekbones, crimson lips, a diamond necklace that caught the light every time she shifted, which she did often, her irritation crackling in the air like static. Anita had served them twice. Bruno barely spoke. Gianna barely looked at her. They didn't look at each other much either. Anita cleared their appetizer plates, refilled the wine, and disappeared back into the noise of the dining room. Her shift ended in 40 minutes. She just needed to survive 40 more minutes. Then she walked into the bathroom. The space was empty, except for the faint sound of running water and the low murmur of a voice coming from the last stall. Anita froze, her hand still on the door. "He'll be near the window. When I give the signal, take the shot. Head only. No mistakes." The voice was calm, clinical, cold. "Gianna." Anita's breath caught in her throat. "If anyone interferes, especially that waitress, kill her too. We can't afford witnesses." The world tilted. Anita's pulse hammered in her ears, drowning out everything except the thunder of her own heartbeat. She couldn't move, couldn't think. Her legs felt welded to the tile floor. "Run." The word screamed through her mind, but her body refused to obey. The toilet flushed. Footsteps approached. Anita shoved herself into motion, stumbling out of the bathroom and into the hallway, her vision blurred at the edges. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against the wall, trying to breathe, trying to think. She could leave, walk out the back door. Pretend she'd heard nothing. But she had heard it. And Gianna had already marked her for death, which meant running wouldn't save her. Anita's gaze drifted back toward the dining room, toward table 7, toward the man who didn't know his wife had just sentenced him to die. "This isn't your problem. You don't owe him anything." But the image of her father's casket flashed through her mind the way no one had warned him either, the way silence had killed him just as efficiently as the bullet. Anita closed her eyes. Then she walked. Her legs felt like water. Her hands shook as she lifted the wine bottle from the service station. She crossed the dining room, every step deliberate, every breath shallow. Bruno didn't look up when she approached. Gianna glanced at her phone, fingers moving across the screen. Anita leaned down, angling the bottle toward Bruno's glass. And then she whispered, low and fast, in the language she'd sworn never to speak again. "Tu moglie ti vignu. Sunu en posizioni." "Your wife sold you out. They're in position." Bruno's head snapped toward her, his eyes locking onto hers with the force of a gunshot, dark, burning. Disbelieving. For one suspended second, the world held its breath. Then the window exploded. Glass shattered inward in a glittering spray of chaos. The sharp crack of a rifle shot split the air. Screams erupted from every corner of the restaurant. Bruno moved. He grabbed Anita's wrist and yanked her down as another bullet punched through the space where his head had been. The table flipped. Wine and glass and shattered ceramic crashed to the floor. Gunfire erupted inside the restaurant now, bodyguards drawing weapons, civilians diving for cover, chaos swallowing everything. Bruno dragged Anita behind the overturned table, his body covering hers, his breath hot against her ear. "Stay down." She couldn't respond, couldn't breathe. Her entire body shook as bullets tore through the restaurant, as people screamed, as the world became noise and violence and terror. Bruno's men returned fire. Footsteps thundered. Voices shouted in Italian. And somewhere in the chaos, Gianna was gone. When the gunfire finally stopped, the silence felt worse. Bruno pulled back, his hands still gripping Anita's shoulders, his gaze fierce and unreadable. Blood streaked his temple from a shard of glass, but his voice was steady. "How did you know?" Anita stared at him, her throat tight, her heart still racing. "I heard her," she whispered. "In the bathroom." She was giving the order. Bruno's jaw tightened. Something dark and terrible flickered across his face. "In Sicilian?" he asked. Anita nodded. His grip on her shoulders tightened. "Then you just saved my life." "She said to kill me too." Anita breathed, the words spilling out now. "If I heard anything." She said, "I know." Bruno's voice was ice. "Which means you're not safe anymore." Before Anita could respond, his men surrounded them, guns drawn, scanning the wreckage. One of them spoke rapidly in Italian. Bruno answered, his tone clipped, commanding. Then he looked back at Anita, his expression unreadable. "You're coming with me." Anita opened her mouth to argue, but the words died when she saw Gianna standing across the street, half hidden in shadow, her phone pressed to her ear, and her eyes locked on Anita's face. Anita's legs buckled the moment Bruno's men pulled her upright. She didn't fall, someone caught her elbow, steadying her, but the world tilted anyway. Her ears rang from the gunfire. Her hands trembled. The acrid smell of gunpowder mixed with shattered wine and blood made her stomach turn. "Clear the perimeter," Bruno barked in Italian, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Find her, now." His men scattered, weapons drawn, moving through the wreckage with practiced efficiency. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Bruno turned back to Anita, his dark eyes scanning her face with an intensity that made her feel exposed. "You're bleeding." "I'm what?" Anita looked down. A thin line of blood traced down her forearm where glass had sliced through her sleeve. She hadn't even felt it. "It's shallow." Bruno's hand closed around her wrist, turning her arm to examine the cut. His touch was surprisingly gentle, controlled. "You'll live." "That's reassuring," Anita muttered, her voice shaking. Something flickered in his expression, not quite amusement, but close. "You have a sense of humor. Even now. It's either that or scream." She pulled her arm back, hugging herself. "I think I'm going to be sick." "Not yet." His hand moved to her shoulder, grounding her. "Look at me." She did. His face was stone, no fear, no panic, just cold calculation and something darker burning beneath the surface. "You saved my life," he said quietly. "That means you're under my protection now. Do you understand? I don't want..." "It's not a choice." His grip tightened fractionally. "Gianna heard you. She saw you, which means you're already a target." The weight of those words hit her like a fist to the chest. Anita's breath caught. "She was just going to kill me anyway." "In the bathroom," she said. "I know what she said." Bruno's jaw tightened. "And now she knows you cost her everything." The police burst through the shattered entrance, weapons raised, voices shouting commands. Bruno's men holstered their guns with choreographed precision, raising their hands in a gesture of compliance that felt practiced. A detective pushed through the crowd, late 40s, graying hair, tired eyes that had seen too much. His gaze landed on Bruno, then shifted to Anita. "Mr. Catelli." The detective's voice was flat. "We meet again." "Detective Alvarez." Bruno released Anita's shoulder but didn't step away. "I assume you'll want statements." "From everyone." Alvarez's gaze lingered on Anita. "Especially her." 20 minutes later, Anita sat in a chair near the bar, a blanket draped over her shoulders, her hands wrapped around a glass of water she hadn't touched. Her statement had been short, clinical. "I heard something," I warned him. "Someone shot at us." She'd left out the Sicilian, left out Gianna's name, left out the part where she'd become a witness to an attempted assassination. Detective Alvarez hadn't believed her. She could see it in his eyes. But he'd let her go anyway. Bruno appeared beside her, his presence announced by the subtle shift in the air. He crouched down so they were eye level, his expression unreadable. "You lied to the police," he said. "It wasn't a question. I told them what they needed to know." Anita met his gaze. "The rest won't help anyone." "Smart." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a phone, sleek, black, unmarked. "Take this. I have a phone. Not one that can't be traced." He pressed it into her hand. "My number is already programmed. If anything happens, anything at all, you call me." Immediately. Anita stared at the phone. It felt heavier than it should. "You think she'll come after me?" "I know she will." Bruno stood, his shadow falling over her. "Which is why you're not going home tonight." "Excuse me? Your apartment isn't safe. I'm moving you into protective custody." "You can't just—" Anita pushed to her feet, the blanket sliding off her shoulders. "I have a life, a job, classes. I can't just disappear because—" "You can. And you will." His voice was steel. "Unless you'd prefer to take your chances with Gianna's people." Anita opened her mouth to argue, but the words died when she saw his expression. There was no negotiation there. No room for debate. Only certainty. "Fine," she said finally, her voice tight. "But I'm not some damsel you get to order around. I speak when I want. I argue when I disagree. And if you try to lock me in a room somewhere, I will find a way out." For the first time that night, Bruno's mouth curved barely. Just a ghost of a smile. "I don't doubt it." "Good." Anita crossed her arms. "Then we understand each other. Perfectly." One of Bruno's men approached, murmuring something in Italian too low for Anita to catch. Bruno's expression darkened. He nodded once, then turned back to her. "We're leaving, now." "What happened?" "Gianna's phone is off. Her car is gone." His gaze locked onto hers. "She's in the wind." A chill crawled down Anita's spine. Bruno gestured toward the exit. "Come." Anita followed, her legs still unsteady, her mind racing. Outside, the street was chaos, police cars, news vans, flashing lights. Civilians crowded the sidewalk, phones raised, recording everything. A black SUV idled at the curb, its windows tinted, its engine running. Bruno opened the door and waited. Anita hesitated, glancing back at the restaurant, at her life, at normalcy, at everything that had shattered in the span of 10 minutes. Then she climbed inside. The door shut with a heavy thunk. The world outside became muffled, distant. Bruno slid in beside her. The driver pulled away from the curb, merging into traffic with practiced ease. Anita stared out the window, watching the city blur past. Her reflection stared back at her, pale, wide-eyed, shell-shocked. "You spoke Sicilian," Bruno said quietly. Anita didn't look at him. "I grew up in Palermo. But you don't speak it anymore." "No." "Why?" She was silent for a long moment. "Because it reminds me of things I'd rather forget." Bruno didn't press. He simply nodded, his gaze steady. "And yet you spoke it tonight. For me." "I spoke it because someone needed to." Anita finally turned to face him. "Don't make it more than it was." "It was everything." His voice was low, intense. "You didn't know me. You owed me nothing. And you still risked your life. I didn't think." "Exactly. You didn't think. You just acted." Something shifted in his expression. "That kind of instinct is rare." Anita's throat tightened. "I'm not brave. I'm terrified. Bravery and fear aren't opposites." Bruno leaned back, his gaze never leaving hers. "They're partners." The SUV turned onto a side street. Anita glanced out the window, then froze. The driver's phone lit up on the dashboard. A notification flashed across the screen. "Unknown number. We know where you live." Beneath the text was a photo. Anita's apartment building. Her window, taken from across the street, her blood turned to ice. Bruno saw it the same moment she did. His expression went lethal. "Accelerate," he told the driver in Italian. Then, to Anita, "They've already been to your home." "How?" Her voice cracked. "How did they find me so fast?" "Gianna has resources, and she's desperate." Bruno pulled out his own phone, typing rapidly. "You're not going back there, ever. My things are already gone, or will be soon." He met her gaze, his eyes hard. "You're with me now, until this is over." Anita's new phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down. One message. Unknown number. "You should have stayed quiet, Anita. Now you die too." Beneath the text, a photo of her, taken tonight, through the restaurant window. The timestamp read 8:47 p.m. 11 minutes before she'd warned Bruno. Gianna had been planning to kill her all along. The penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a building Anita couldn't afford to look at, let alone enter. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the lights bleeding into the night sky like scattered stars. The furniture was dark leather and polished wood, minimal and severe. Everything felt cold, controlled like the man who lived here. Anita stood in the center of the living room, still clutching the burner phone, her mind replaying the photo on loop. 11 minutes before she'd warned him. Gianna had marked her for death before Anita had even made a choice. "You're shaking." Bruno appeared beside her with a glass of amber liquid. "Whiskey, from the smell of it." "I'm fine." "You're in shock." He pressed the glass into her hand. "Drink." Anita took it but didn't drink. How did she know? I was nobody, a waitress. How did she even notice me? Gianna notices everything. Bruno moved to the window, his silhouette sharp against the city lights. It's how she survived this long. Survived what? Being something she's not. He didn't turn around. Being my wife. The bitterness in his voice cut through the air like a blade. Anita set the glass down. Your men said my apartment was broken into. It was. Bruno pulled out his phone, swiping through images before handing it to her. These were taken 20 minutes ago. Anita's stomach dropped. Her apartment looked like a hurricane had torn through it, furniture overturned, drawers emptied, her clothes shredded and scattered across the floor. On her bed, spray painted in red across the white sheets, Silenzio o morte. Silence or death. They destroyed everything, she whispered. They were looking for evidence, anything that connects you to me, to tonight, to what you heard. Bruno took the phone back. They didn't find anything because there's nothing to find, but that won't stop them. Anita's hands curled into fists. So what now? I just hide here forever? Until I end this. His gaze locked onto hers. You have my word. Your word. She laughed, the sound hollow. I don't even know you. You know enough. Bruno stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. You know I don't break my promises, and you know that as long as you're with me, no one touches you. How can you be so sure? Because anyone who tries will die. His voice was flat, final, and Gianna knows that. The certainty in his tone should have terrified her. Instead, it steadied something inside her chest. I need to call my work, my professors, my... Anita stopped, reality crashing down. I can't just disappear. People will notice. They'll be told you're taking emergency leave. Family crisis. Bruno gestured toward the hallway. There's a guest room. First door on the right. Everything you need is already there. You're very prepared. I'm always prepared. He turned back toward the window. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start digging. Digging for what? Proof. His reflection stared back at her from the glass. That my wife is a traitor, and that she's working with someone inside my organization. Anita couldn't sleep. The guest room was pristine white linens, soft lighting, a view that rivaled the one in the living room. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw the shattered window, heard the rifle crack, felt Bruno's weight pinning her to the floor. At 2 a.m., she gave up and padded into the kitchen. Bruno was already there. He stood at the counter, shirtless, a tattoo of a lion sprawled across his shoulder blade. He was pouring coffee black, no sugar, and didn't look surprised when she appeared. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Can you?" "Not for years." He slid a second mug toward her. "Coffee? At 2 in the morning? Sleep is overrated." He leaned against the counter, studying her. "You're different than I expected." "What did you expect?" "Fear. Hysteria. Regret." His mouth curved slightly. "Not humor. Humor keeps me from screaming." Anita took the coffee, wrapping her hands around the warmth. "Besides, if I'm going to die, I'd rather do it with a sense of humor intact." "You're not going to die. You can't promise that." "I just did." Bruno's gaze burned into hers. "And I keep my promises." Anita wanted to believe him. The terrifying part was that she almost did. Her phone buzzed on the counter. The burner. She grabbed it, her pulse spiking. Another message. Another photo. This time, it wasn't her apartment. It was her. Walking into Bruno's building. Time stamped 15 minutes ago. Beneath it. "Found you." The mug slipped from Anita's hands, shattering against the tile. Bruno moved instantly, pulling her back from the glass. His grip on her arms was firm, grounding. "They're bluffing. They're outside your building, Bruno." Her voice cracked. "They know where I am. This building has 24-hour security. Facial recognition. Armed guards." His jaw tightened. "No one gets in without me knowing." "Then how did they—" The lights went out. The entire penthouse plunged into darkness. Anita's breath caught. Bruno's hand found hers in the blackness, pulling her close. "Stay behind me," he murmured. Emergency lighting flickered on, bathing everything in red. Bruno moved toward the hallway, silent and lethal. Anita followed, her heart hammering. A sound. Soft. Metallic. The elevator? Someone was coming up. Bruno drew a gun from somewhere. Anita hadn't even seen him carrying it. He positioned himself between her and the elevator doors, his body a wall. The elevator dinged. The doors slid open. A figure stepped out, backlit by red emergency lights. Not Gianna. A man. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Familiar. Bruno's entire body went rigid. "Lorenzo," he said, his voice flat. Lorenzo Vitali smiled. "Ciao, fratello. We need to talk." He stepped forward, and Anita's blood turned to ice. Because clutched in his hand was a phone open to a text thread. With Gianna. Lorenzo's gaze slid past Bruno, landing on Anita. His smile widened. "So this is the girl who ruined everything?" He tilted his head. "Gianna wants her dead. But I think we can make a deal." Bruno raised his gun. "Get out, now! Or what? You'll shoot your best friend?" Lorenzo's voice was mocking. "We both know you won't. You've never had the stomach for it." Anita's hand tightened on Bruno's arm. She could feel the tension coiling through him, the war raging beneath his skin. Lorenzo took another step forward. "She's not worth it, Bruno. Give her to me and this all ends. You keep your empire. Gianna disappears. Everyone wins." Bruno's finger moved to the trigger. "Everyone," Lorenzo said softly, "except her." Bruno didn't lower the gun. "You have 10 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't put a bullet in your head, Lorenzo." Lorenzo's smile never wavered. "Because you want to know the truth first. You always do." "The truth about what?" "About Gianna. About the child." Lorenzo's gaze flicked to Anita, then back. "About how long I've been fucking your wife." The words hung in the air like poison. Bruno's jaw tightened, but his hand remained steady. "Get out. Not until you hear me." Lorenzo raised his hands in mock surrender. "I'm not here to fight you, Bruno. I'm here to make you an offer. One that keeps everyone alive. Everyone except Anita. She's collateral damage." Lorenzo shrugged. "Nothing personal. She heard too much. Gianna can't let her live. Gianna doesn't make that decision." Bruno's voice was ice. "I do." Anita's pulse hammered in her throat. She could feel the violence building between them, thick and suffocating. Lorenzo took another step forward. "You really want to die for a waitress you met 6 hours ago?" "I want," Bruno said quietly, "to understand why my best friend betrayed me." Something flickered across Lorenzo's face. "Betrayed? Bruno, I saved you. By plotting my assassination? By giving you a way out. Lorenzo's voice rose, passionate now. You were drowning in that marriage. Gianna was suffocating you. I gave you an exit. By murdering me? By making it quick. Lorenzo's expression hardened. Better than watching you waste away in a loveless marriage for another 20 years. Bruno's finger tightened on the trigger. How noble. It was supposed to be clean, painless, over. Lorenzo gestured toward Anita. Then she interfered. She saved my life. She ruined everything. Lorenzo's mask slipped, rage bleeding through. 3 years of planning, 3 years of positioning, all destroyed because some girl decided to play hero. Anita found her voice. You're insane. Lorenzo's gaze snapped to her. I'm practical. Bruno was always going to die. The empire was always going to fall to someone stronger. I just made sure it was me. And Gianna? Bruno asked, his voice deadly calm. Gianna was the key. Lorenzo smiled again. She seduced you, trapped you, gave you a son. He's not my son. The words dropped like a guillotine. Lorenzo's smile froze. I ran the DNA 3 hours ago. Bruno pulled a folded paper from his pocket, tossing it toward Lorenzo. The child she's carrying isn't mine. Lorenzo didn't move to pick it up. He didn't need to. He's yours, Bruno continued, his voice flat. You've been sleeping with my wife since before we married. She faked the pregnancy test, trapped me, and you helped her do it. Bruno. How long? The gun raised higher. How long have you been planning to destroy me? Lorenzo's jaw tightened. From the beginning, the admission hit like a physical blow. Anita watched Bruno's expression shatter and rebuild in the span of a heartbeat, rage, betrayal, grief, all compressed into lethal focus. She was never yours, Lorenzo said. She was always mine. The marriage, the pregnancy, the empire, it was all part of the plan. What plan? The Marcellis. Lorenzo's voice turned cold. Gianna is Salvatore Marcelli's daughter. She infiltrated your life, your organization, your bed, and when you died, I would have taken control. Merged the families, ended the war. Bruno's hand trembled, not from fear, from fury barely contained. You were my brother, he said quietly. I was your executioner. Lorenzo stepped forward. And I still am. Give me the girl, walk away, let this end. No. Then you're both dead. Not tonight. Bruno's voice was a promise. Get out. Now. Before I forget we were ever friends. Lorenzo studied him for a long moment. Then he smiled, cold, bitter, final. You're going to regret this, Bruno. He turned and walked back toward the elevator. The doors slid shut. The moment he was gone, Bruno's hand dropped. The gun clattered to the floor. Anita moved without thinking, crossing the space between them. Bruno, don't. His voice cracked. Don't touch me right now. But she did anyway. Her hand found his arm, grounding him. He flinched, then stilled, his entire body rigid. 3 years, he whispered. She lied to me for 3 years. I know. The child isn't mine. The marriage was a lie. My best friend. His voice broke. He was planning to kill me the entire time. Anita's chest tightened. She'd seen him cold, controlled, lethal. But this was raw, human, shattered. You're not alone, she said quietly. Bruno's gaze snapped to hers. You don't know me. I know enough. She held his gaze. I know you're still standing. I know you didn't shoot him when you had the chance. And I know you're not going to let them win. Something shifted in his expression. You sound very certain. I am. Anita's mouth curved slightly. Because if you give up now, I'll have risked my life for nothing, and that would really annoy me. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Can't have that. No. You really can't. For a moment, they just stood there, the space between them charged with something Anita couldn't name. Then Bruno's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, his expression hardening as he read the screen. What is it? Anita asked. DNA results. Official. He looked up, his eyes burning. Confirmed. The child is Lorenzo's. Anita's stomach twisted. What are you going to do? End this. Bruno's voice was steel. All of it. He moved toward his office, pulling files, opening drawers, assembling evidence with surgical precision. Anita followed. What do you need? Proof. Documentation. Everything. He spread papers across the desk, bank records, photos, text threads. Gianna's been funneling money to the Marcellis for 2 years. Lorenzo's been feeding them intel. Every move I made, they knew. How did you miss it? Because I trusted them. His jaw tightened. I won't make that mistake again. Anita leaned over the desk, scanning the documents. Her eyes caught on a date. A transaction. Wait. This payment. What about it? It's from 3 years ago. Before you married her. Anita pulled the paper closer. She was working with them before she even met you. Bruno went very still. Show me. She pointed. This account. Salvatore Marcelli. He paid her $50,000 2 weeks before your first date. Bruno's expression turned lethal. It was a setup from the start. She never loved you, Anita said quietly. She was hunting you. Bruno's computer chimed. A video file, sender unknown. He opened it. The screen filled with grainy footage, a warehouse, dimly lit. 2 figures stood in the center. Gianna and Lorenzo. Between them, tied to a chair, was a man Anita didn't recognize. Bruno's face went white. That's Marco, my cousin. On screen, Gianna raised a gun. This is what happens, she said, her voice cold, to people who protect Bruno Catelli. She fired. The video cut to black. A text appeared. You're next. Both of you. Bruno stared at the black screen for 3 seconds that felt like hours. Then he exploded. The desk lamp shattered against the wall. Papers scattered. His fist slammed into the wood, hard enough to split the surface. Anita flinched but didn't move. She'd seen rage before her father's, her uncle's, the kind that burned hot and fast and destroyed everything in its path. This was different. This was cold fire, controlled destruction. Marco was 19, Bruno said, his voice barely above a whisper. He just started university. He wanted to be a doctor. Wanted, past tense. Anita's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't bring him back. Bruno turned, his eyes hollow. He died because of me. Because he was loyal. Because Gianna wanted to send a message. She's trying to break you. She already has. He picked up the computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. But she's made a mistake. What mistake? She showed me her face. The screen filled with freeze frames from the video, Gianna's profile, the warehouse background, a shipping container in the corner with faded lettering. She thinks I'm broken. Desperate. That I'll make a mistake. Won't you? Bruno's gaze snapped to hers. No, because now I know exactly who she is. He pulled up another file, genealogy records, immigration documents, birth certificates. His fingers moved with brutal efficiency, connecting dots Anita couldn't see. Gianna Russo, he muttered. That's the name she gave me. Clean background. Orphaned at 15. No family, no ties. But Gianna Russo died in 2019. Car accident in Naples. He turned the screen toward her. The real Gianna Russo is buried in Cimitero di Poggioreale. Anita's stomach dropped. Then, who? Gianna Marcelli. Bruno pulled up a photograph, a young woman, maybe 16, standing beside an older man with cold eyes and a cruel mouth. Daughter of Salvatore Marcelli. Head of the Marcelli syndicate, our oldest enemy. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. She was a plant, Anita whispered. From the beginning. Trained. Positioned. Sent to infiltrate my life. Bruno's jaw tightened. She seduced me at a charity gala 3 years ago, made herself indispensable, got pregnant, or pretended to, forced my hand into marriage. And you never suspected? Why would I? His voice turned bitter. She was perfect, beautiful, intelligent. She said all the right things, played the role flawlessly. Because it wasn't a role, Anita said quietly. It was a mission. Bruno nodded, his expression hardening. The pregnancy was the final lock. Once I believed the child was mine, I was trapped. Divorce would have meant losing my heir, losing face, losing control. But the child isn't yours. No, it's Lorenzo's. He pulled up more files, hotel receipts, surveillance photos, text messages. They've been together for 4 years, since before she ever met me. Anita scanned the evidence, her mind racing. So the plan was, kill me, marry Lorenzo, claim inheritance through the child, merge the Catelli empire into the Marcelli syndicate. Bruno's voice was ice. End the bloodline, end the war, consolidate power. That's... Anita searched for words. That's terrifyingly efficient. It's brilliant. Bruno's mouth curved without humor. If you'd asked me a week ago, I would have said it was impossible. No one could infiltrate this deeply. No one could fool me for 3 years. But she did. She did. He closed the laptop, his gaze distant, which means Salvatore Marcelli is smarter than I gave him credit for. Anita moved closer, her voice soft. What are you going to do? Expose her. Bruno turned, his eyes burning. Every lie, every betrayal, every murder. I'm going to destroy her the way she tried to destroy me. How? By going public. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling a press conference. Tomorrow morning. I'm releasing everything, the DNA results, the Marcelli connection, the assassination attempt, all of it. She'll deny it. She can't deny DNA. Bruno's smile was sharp, and she can't deny her own voice. He pulled up an audio file, the recording Anita had helped uncover. Gianna's voice, cold and clear. When I give the signal, take the shot. Head only. No mistakes. Anita's pulse quickened. You recorded her. The restaurant has security. Audio and visual. Bruno's gaze locked onto hers. Your warning saved my life, but this recording will end hers. If she doesn't kill us first, she'll try. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. Which is why you stay with me. Always. No exceptions. I'm not arguing. Good. His hand lifted, almost touching her face, then dropped. I can't lose anyone else tonight. The vulnerability in his voice hit her like a fist to the chest. You won't, Anita said. You don't know that. I do. She held his gaze. Because I'm not Marco, I'm not Lorenzo, and I'm not running. Something shifted in his expression, surprise maybe, or something deeper. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced down. His entire body went rigid. What? Anita asked. Bruno turned the screen toward her. A news alert. Breaking story. Headline. Mafia boss Bruno Catelli under investigation for domestic violence. Wife fears for her life. Beneath it, a photo of Gianna, tears streaming down her face, being escorted into a police station. She's going public first, Anita whispered. Bruno's expression turned lethal. Then we go to war. The press conference was scheduled for 9 a.m. Gianna's was already airing live at 6. Anita stood in Bruno's living room, watching the broadcast with sick fascination. Gianna sat beside her lawyer, her eyes red, her voice trembling. I'm terrified, Gianna said, dabbing at her tears. Bruno has become increasingly unstable, violent. I fear for my life, and the life of our unborn child. Liar, Bruno muttered beside Anita. On screen, the reporter leaned forward. There are reports of an assassination attempt at a restaurant last night. Can you comment? Bruno staged it. Gianna's voice cracked. He's paranoid, delusional. He's convinced everyone is plotting against him, including me. This is unbelievable, Anita said. It's strategic. Bruno's jaw tightened. She's playing the victim, turning public opinion against me before I can expose her. Mrs. Catelli, the reporter continued, there are also rumors about another woman. Gianna's gaze hardened. You mean his mistress? Anita's stomach dropped. A waitress named Anita Davila. Gianna pulled out a photo. Anita, walking into Bruno's building last night. She's been manipulating him, feeding his paranoia. I believe she's dangerous. She just painted a target on your back, Bruno said quietly. It was already there. Anita's hands curled into fists. What do we do? We fight back. Bruno pulled out his phone. I'm releasing everything. Now. He uploaded the file's DNA results, Marcelli connections, audio recordings. Within minutes, the story exploded. Social media erupted, news outlets scrambled, the narrative fractured. Anita's phone buzzed. Messages flooded in threats, support, confusion. Then one message stood out. Unknown number? You want a war? You'll get one. Attached was a photo, a bomb vest, and a familiar location. Bruno's face drained of color. What is it? Anita asked. He turned the phone toward her. The photo showed the Catelli family estate, the annual summit, scheduled for tomorrow. 50 people, Bruno's entire family. And somewhere in that crowd, hidden, was a bomb. The text beneath read, I'll take everyone, unless you give me what I want. Her. Cancel the summit. Bruno's voice was steel, but Anita heard the fracture underneath. You can't. She moved closer, her mind racing. If you cancel, she wins. Your family will think you're weak. The organization will fracture. If I don't cancel, 50 people die. Not if we find the bomb first. Anita grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at her. She's bluffing. She has to be. Gianna doesn't bluff. Bruno's jaw tightened. She executes. Then we execute better. Anita's voice steadied, surprising even herself. We sweep the estate, find the device, disarm it. And we do it before she knows we're onto her. Bruno studied her for a long moment. You should be terrified. I am. She held his gaze. But I'm also really tired of running. Something shifted in his expression, respect, maybe, or recognition. If we do this, he said quietly, you stay visible, by my side, the entire time. Why? Because the moment you're alone, you're dead. His hand closed over hers, still gripping his arm. She wants you isolated, vulnerable. I won't give her that. So I'm bait. You're protected bait. His mouth curved slightly. There's a difference. That's very reassuring. It should be. Bruno pulled out his phone, already dialing. I'm calling my security team. Bomb squad, every resource I have. And if they don't find it in time, then we evacuate. His eyes burned into hers. But we don't let her win. The next 18 hours were chaos. Bruno's estate was a fortress, walls, gates, security checkpoints. But Gianna had been inside those walls for 3 years. She knew every weakness. Bomb-sniffing dogs swept every room. Security teams checked every vehicle. Guests were screened, photographed, searched. Nothing. Anita stood in the main hall, watching the preparations with growing dread. The summit was in 2 hours. Guests were already arriving. We should evacuate, she said for the 3rd time. We can't. Bruno appeared beside her, his presence grounding. If I evacuate without proof, I look paranoid, unstable, exactly what Gianna wants. Better paranoid than dead. I'm aware. His hand found the small of her back, a gesture so natural it took her breath away. But I won't let fear dictate my choices. Not anymore. That's very noble. Anita glanced at him. Also potentially suicidal. Welcome to my world. Despite everything, she almost smiled. A commotion at the entrance pulled their attention. Anita's stomach dropped. Gianna. She swept through the doorway like a queen, flanked by lawyers and bodyguards. Her eyes were red-rimmed but sharp, her designer dress perfectly tailored to hide the pregnancy that wasn't Bruno's. The room fell silent. Bruno's hand tightened on Anita's back. Stay close. Gianna's gaze found them across the room. Her expression flickered surprise, rage, calculation, before smoothing into practiced grief. Bruno. Her voice carried, soft and wounded. I didn't expect you to let me in. This is still your home. His tone was ice. Until the divorce is finalized. Divorce. Gianna's hand moved to her stomach. You'd abandon your child? That's not my child. Bruno's voice cut through the room. And everyone here knows it. Gasps rippled through the gathered family members. Gianna's mask cracked. You have no proof. I have DNA results. Bruno pulled a folder from his jacket, holding it up. Certified. Witnessed. Conclusive. The child you're carrying belongs to Lorenzo Vitale. The room erupted. Gianna's lawyer stepped forward, voice sharp. Mr. Catelli, these allegations? Aren't allegations. Bruno opened the folder, displaying the results. They're facts. Anita watched Gianna's face transform grief, dissolving into cold fury. You want to play this game? Gianna's voice turned lethal. Fine. Let's talk about facts. Like the fact that you tried to kill me, that you're sleeping with your waitress, that you've become a violent, paranoid. I have recordings, Anita interrupted. Every eye turned to her. Gianna's expression went blank. Recordings. Anita stepped forward, her heart hammering but her voice steady. From the restaurant. Audio and visual. Of you ordering Bruno's assassination. That's impossible. It's not. Bruno pulled out his phone, connecting it to the room's sound system. Al Venti has extensive security, including the women's bathroom. Gianna's face drained of color. Bruno pressed play. Gianna's voice filled the room, cold and clear. He'll be near the window. When I give the signal, take the shot. Head only. No mistakes. Silence. Heavy. Damning. If anyone interferes, especially that waitress, kill her too. Anita watched the room turn against Gianna in real time. Family members stepped back. Whispers exploded. Phones appeared, recording everything. Gianna's lawyer grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the exit. We're leaving, now. No. Gianna jerked free, her gaze locked on Bruno. You think this is over? You think exposing me changes anything? It changes everything. Bruno's voice was final. You're done. Am I? Gianna smiled, and it was the coldest thing Anita had ever seen. We'll see. She turned and walked out, her bodyguards flanking her. The moment she was gone, the room erupted in chaos. Bruno's phone buzzed. He glanced down, his expression hardening. What? Anita asked. Police. He showed her the screen. Arrest warrant. For Gianna. Attempted murder. Conspiracy. Fraud. Relief flooded through Anita. It's over. Not yet. Bruno's gaze was distant. She'll run. She has resources. The Marcellus will protect her. Then we hunt her down. Bruno looked at her, something unreadable in his eyes. You sound very certain. I am. Anita held his gaze. She tried to kill you. She tried to kill me. I want her in prison. So do I. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining. But first, we survive the next 2 hours. The bomb. If it exists. Bruno's jaw tightened. We keep searching. 1 hour later, the estate was clear. No device, no explosives, no threat. Anita stood on the terrace, watching the sunset bleed across the sky. Her body ached with exhaustion. Her mind still raced. It was a bluff, Bruno said behind her. She turned. He looked tired, the weight of the day carved into his features. Maybe, she said. Or maybe she just wanted us distracted. From what? Anita's phone buzzed. News alert. Breaking. Gianna Catelli escapes police custody, manhunt underway. Her blood turned to ice. Bruno read over her shoulder, his expression going lethal. She's gone, Anita whispered. Not for long. Bruno pulled out his phone, already dialing. I'm activating every contact, every resource. She won't get far. Bruno. Another notification. This time on Bruno's phone. A video message. Sender unknown. He opened it. The screen filled with Gianna's face, cold and composed. Hello, Bruno. Her voice was calm. By now you know I've escaped. Good. I wanted you to know I'm coming for you. And for her. The camera panned. Anita's heart stopped. Behind Gianna stood rows of armed men. Military-grade weapons, tactical gear. The summit was never the target, Gianna continued. It was the distraction. The camera panned again. A building. Familiar. Terrifying. Bruno's primary headquarters. the heart of his empire. I'm going to burn it all down, Gianna said softly. Everything you built, everyone you love. She smiled. Starting tonight. The video cut to black. Then Anita's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered, her hand shaking. Gianna's voice live. Run, Anita, because I'm already inside. An explosion lit up the night sky. Bruno's headquarters engulfed in flames. The explosion painted the night sky orange and red, flames clawing toward the stars. Bruno's headquarters, 4 stories of steel and concrete, collapsed inward like a dying beast. The sound reached them seconds later, a rolling thunder that shook the ground beneath their feet. Anita couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at the inferno consuming everything Bruno had built. How many people? She whispered. Bruno's face was stone. 20, maybe 30. Oh God. The night shift. His voice cracked. Security. Analysts. People who trusted me to keep them safe. Anita's hand found his arm. He didn't pull away. Around them, chaos erupted, family members screaming, security teams mobilizing, sirens wailing in the distance. But Bruno stood frozen, watching his empire burn. This is my fault, he said quietly. No, it's hers. I underestimated her. His jaw tightened. I thought exposing her would end it. Instead, I backed her into a corner. Made her desperate. You did what you had to do. And now people are dead because of it. Bruno turned to her, his eyes hollow. You should leave. Get as far from me as possible. Before she kills you too. No. Anita. I said no. She stepped closer, her voice fierce. I'm not running. Not from her. She'll come for you. Let her. Anita's hands curled into fists. I'm done being afraid. Something shifted in Bruno's expression, surprise, admiration, something deeper. You're insane. Probably. She almost smiled. But I'm your kind of insane. His hand lifted, cupping her face with unexpected gentleness. I can't lose you. You won't. She leaned into his touch. Because we're ending this. Tonight. How? By giving her what she wants. Anita's gaze burned into his. Me. The plan was suicide. Bruno said so 3 times in the car ride to the summit location, an abandoned warehouse on the waterfront, the same location from the video of Marco's murder. She'll kill you the moment you walk in, he said. Not if she thinks she can use me. Anita checked the wire taped to her ribs, the tiny microphone hidden in her collar. She wants leverage. A way to control you. She already has leverage. She destroyed my headquarters. That was a tantrum. Anita met his gaze in the rearview mirror. This is personal. She wants to break you, and the only way to do that is through me. Bruno's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I don't like this. You don't have to like it. You just have to trust me. I do. His voice was raw. That's what terrifies me. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark and skeletal against the night sky. No lights, no movement. Just silence and shadows. Bruno parked 2 blocks away. His men, 12 of them, armed and lethal, spread out, surrounding the building from every angle. You have 10 minutes, Bruno said, pulling Anita aside. If anything goes wrong, if she so much as looks at you the wrong way, we storm in. And if she has hostages? His expression darkened. Then we pray. Anita nodded, her pulse hammering. Bruno's hand found hers, squeezing once. Come back to me, he said quietly. I will, she squeezed back. I promise. Then she walked toward the warehouse alone. The door hung open, creaking in the wind. Inside, darkness swallowed everything. Anita's footsteps echoed against concrete as she moved deeper, her eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering through broken windows. I knew you'd come. Gianna's voice drifted from the shadows. Anita stopped, her heart racing. Where are you? Close. A light flickered on a single bulb swaying from the ceiling, illuminating the center of the warehouse. Gianna stood beneath it, Lorenzo beside her, both armed, both smiling. You're braver than I thought, Gianna said. Or stupider. Probably both. Anita forced her voice steady. You wanted me. Here I am. And Bruno? Outside. Waiting. Good. Gianna's smile widened. That's exactly where I want him. Close enough to watch, too far to save you. Lorenzo stepped forward, his gun raised. On your knees. Anita didn't move. Why? So you can execute me like you did Marco? Marco was a message. Lorenzo's voice was cold. You're a statement. About what? About what happens when you interfere with plans 3 years in the making. Gianna moved closer, her eyes burning. You cost me everything, Anita. My position, my security, my future. Your future was built on lies. So is everyone's. Gianna laughed, the sound hollow. Bruno thinks he's noble, honorable, but he's just another man with blood on his hands. At least he doesn't murder his own family. Gianna's expression turned lethal. You know nothing about family. I know you faked a pregnancy to trap a man you never loved. Anita's voice rose. I know you sold him out to his enemies. I know you murdered his cousin to send a message. And I know, Gianna said softly, that killing you will destroy him completely. She raised her gun. Anita's body tensed, every muscle screaming to run, but she held her ground. Do it, she said quietly. Pull the trigger. Prove you're exactly what Bruno says you are. Gianna hesitated. Just for a second. It was enough. The warehouse exploded with motion. Bruno's men burst through every entrance, doors, windows, skylights. Gunfire erupted. Lorenzo returned fire, diving for cover. Gianna spun, her gun tracking targets. Bruno appeared at Anita's side, grabbing her and pulling her down as bullets tore through the air above them. Are you hurt? His hands moved over her, checking for injuries. I'm fine. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. I'm fine. Relief flooded his expression. Then rage. He stood, his gun raised, scanning for Gianna. She was gone. Lorenzo fought like a cornered animal, vicious, desperate, lethal. He took down 2 of Bruno's men before Bruno's bullet caught him in the shoulder. Lorenzo fell, gasping. Bruno crossed the distance in 3 strides, his gun pressed to Lorenzo's temple. Where is she? His voice was death. Lorenzo laughed, blood bubbling at his lips. You really think she'd stay? She's smarter than that. Where? Gone. Lorenzo coughed. But not far. She has one more surprise for you. Fratello. What surprise? Lorenzo's smile was terrible. The summit. It was never about the headquarters. The Renzos. Bruno's face went white. What did you do? Ask yourself, Lorenzo whispered, where all your family is right now. All in one place, all unguarded. Horror crashed through Anita. The estate. Lorenzo nodded. Gianna planted the bomb days ago, hidden, waiting, set to detonate, at... He glanced at his watch. Midnight. Anita checked her phone. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes. Bruno grabbed Lorenzo by the collar. Where is it? I don't know. Lorenzo's voice was fading. Only Gianna knows. And she's not answering her phone. Bruno released him, already running. Anita followed, her legs burning. They burst outside. Bruno's phone was already pressed to his ear. Evacuate the estate, now. Everyone out. This is not a drill. He hung up, his face carved from stone. We won't make it in time, Anita said. We have to. They climbed into the car. Bruno floored the accelerator, the engine screaming. The estate was 20 minutes away. They had 12. Anita's phone buzzed. A message. From Gianna. Tell Bruno I'm sorry, but some empires need to burn. Attached. A photo. A bomb vest. Strapped to one of Bruno's men. Inside the estate's main hall, where 50 people were still gathered. Bruno drove like a man possessed. The speedometer climbed past 90, then 100. The city blurred into streaks of light. Anita braced herself against the dashboard, her phone clutched in white-knuckled hands. Which guard? Bruno's voice was ice. Anita zoomed in on the photo. I can't tell, the angle's wrong, but he's wearing your family crest. One of yours. They're all mine. Bruno's jaw tightened. Which means Gianna got to someone. Turned them. Or forced them. Anita's mind raced. A bomb vest has a remote trigger. She's watching. Waiting. For what? For you. Anita met his gaze. She wants you to see it. To know you failed. Bruno's hands tightened on the wheel. His phone rang as head of security. Everyone's evacuating, the man reported, voice tight. But we can't find Matteo. He's not responding. Matteo. Bruno's face went white. 22 years old. Just promoted last month. That's your bomber, Anita said quietly. Bruno cursed in Italian, vicious and raw. He punched the phone. Connecting to the estate's security system. The main hall appeared on screen chaos, people streaming toward exits, and in the center, frozen in place, stood Matteo. The vest was clearly visible now. Wires, charges, a blinking red light. Matteo's face was terrified. He's not a traitor, Anita whispered. He's a hostage. Bruno's expression turned lethal. She's forcing him to stand there. She has leverage. His family? Bruno nodded, his voice hollow. Wife. Baby daughter. Anita's stomach turned. Where are they? I don't know. Bruno was already dialing. But I will. The car screeched into the estate's driveway. Armed guards surrounded them immediately. Status! Bruno barked. Main hall is clear except for Matteo. He won't move. Says if he does, his family dies. Bruno was out of the car before the guard finished speaking. Anita followed, her legs unsteady but her resolve solid. The main hall was eerily silent now, the evacuation complete. Only Matteo remained, standing in the center like a statue, tears streaming down his face. Boss, he choked out when he saw Bruno. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She has Elena. She has Sophia. She said, if I don't, I know. Bruno's voice was surprisingly gentle. Where are they? I don't know. She wouldn't tell me. Just said, his voice broke. If I move, she detonates. If I try to remove the vest, she detonates. If you call the police, she detonates. Bruno finished. I understand. Anita moved closer, studying the vest. The trigger is remote, which means she's close, watching. Or she has someone watching. Bruno pulled out his phone, his fingers flying. I'm tracking every camera, every signal in a 2-mile radius. Boss, you need to leave. Matteo's voice cracked. Get everyone out. Let me die alone. No one's dying. Anita stepped forward before Bruno could stop her. How long have you been standing here? 30 minutes. Maybe more. And the vest hasn't detonated. Anita crouched, examining the device without touching it. Which means it's not on a timer. It's manual trigger only. How does that help? Matteo asked. It means Gianna's bluffing. Anita stood, her mind racing. She wants Bruno here. She wants him to watch, but she won't detonate until... A slow clap echoed through the hall. Anita's blood froze. Gianna stepped out from behind a pillar, her gun raised, her smile vicious. Very clever, Anita. Her voice dripped venom. But not clever enough. Bruno's gun was already drawn. Let him go. No. Gianna moved closer, circling like a predator. He's my insurance. The moment you try anything, I press this button, and everyone in this building dies. She held up a small remote. Red button. Blinking light. Where's his family? Bruno demanded. Safe. For now. Gianna's gaze slid to Anita. But I'll make you a deal. Her life for theirs. No, Bruno said immediately. Yes, Anita said. Bruno's head snapped toward her. Absolutely not. It's the only way. Anita stepped forward. Let Matteo go. Let his family go. I'll take his place. No, Bruno grabbed her arm. I won't trade your life. You don't get to decide. Anita pulled free, her eyes burning. I'm choosing this. How noble, Gianna laughed. But pointless. I'm going to kill you anyway. Then do it. Anita faced her. But let them go first. Gianna studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. Fine. She pulled out her phone, typed something. His family is being released. You have my word. Your word means nothing. Bruno snarled. Then I guess you'll find out. Gianna gestured to Matteo. Remove the vest. Slowly. Matteo's hands shook as he reached for the straps. Anita watched, her pulse thundering. If Gianna pressed that button now, the vest fell away. Matteo stumbled back, gasping. Run! Bruno ordered. Matteo ran. Gianna's smile widened. Now you. Anita moved toward the vest. Bruno grabbed her hand, his grip desperate. Don't do this, he whispered. I have to. She squeezed his hand. Trust me. Anita, trust me. She pulled free and knelt beside the vest. That's when she saw it. The second device. Hidden beneath the pillar where Gianna had been standing. Larger, deadlier, already counting down. 3 minutes. Anita's eyes locked on Gianna's. You were never going to let anyone leave. Gianna's smile turned cold. No, I wasn't. She pressed the button. Nothing happened. Gianna's expression flickered. She pressed it again. And again. Looking for this? Bruno held up a small black box, a signal jammer. I've had it running since we arrived. Rage twisted Gianna's face. Gunfire erupted. Bruno's men burst through every entrance. Gianna dove for cover, returning fire. The hall exploded into chaos, bullets, screams, shattered glass. Bruno pulled Anita behind an overturned table. The bomb under the pillar. Can you disarm it? I don't know how. You have 2 minutes to learn. Anita's mind raced. She crawled toward the device, her hands shaking. Wires, too many wires, red, blue, green, yellow. Which one? She shouted over the gunfire. Bruno appeared beside her, his gun firing toward Gianna's position. I don't know. Great. Very helpful. Anita scanned the device. Her mind flashed to a documentary she'd watched once, something about bomb disposal. Cut the wire connected to the power source. But which one was the power source? 1 minute. Anita's fingers hovered over the wires. Red felt too obvious. Blue felt wrong. Green. A bullet shattered the table beside her. Bruno returned fire, his body shielding hers. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. 30 seconds. Anita closed her eyes, took a breath, and cut the green wire. The countdown stopped. But the device didn't disarm. It reset. 10 seconds. Run! Anita screamed. Bruno grabbed her, hauling her toward the exit. The world became motion and terror, and the thundering certainty that they weren't going to make it. The explosion threw them through the doorway. Heat, sound, pressure. Anita hit the ground hard, her ears ringing, her vision swimming. Smoke filled her lungs. She couldn't hear, couldn't breathe. A hand grabbed hers. Bruno. He pulled her to her feet, his mouth moving, words she couldn't hear. Behind them, the hall was an inferno. And through the smoke, a figure emerged. Gianna. Bloody, burned, but alive. And she had Anita's gun. Gianna stood, framed by flames, a nightmare made flesh. Half her face was burned, skin blistered and raw. Her designer dress hung in charred tatters. But her eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, burned brighter than the inferno behind her. The gun in her hand didn't waver. You should have stayed down, Gianna said, her voice hoarse from smoke. Both of you. Bruno stepped in front of Anita, his body a wall. His own gun was gone, lost somewhere in the explosion. It's over, Gianna. The police are coming. The Marcellus won't protect you now. The Marcellus? Gianna laughed. The sound brittle and unhinged. You think I did this for them? For my father? She spat blood onto the scorched ground. I did this for me. Because you were supposed to be mine, my empire, my future. I was never yours. Bruno's voice was steel. You bought your way into my life with lies. And you were stupid enough to believe them. Gianna's finger tightened on the trigger. 3 years I played the perfect wife. 3 years I smiled and pretended and swallowed my disgust every time you touched me. Behind Bruno, Anita's mind raced. The gun, Gianna's stance. The distance between them may be 15 feet. Too far to rush her, too close to miss. But Gianna's hands were shaking, burned, Injured. One shot. Maybe two. Then she'd have to adjust her grip. "You're not going to shoot him," Anita said, her voice cutting through the smoke. Gianna's gaze snapped to her. "Excuse me? You heard me." Anita stepped out from behind Bruno, ignoring his sharp intake of breath. "You're not going to shoot him, because if you wanted him dead, you would have pulled the trigger already." "Anita," Bruno's voice was a warning. "You had snipers," Anita continued, moving slowly to the side, drawing Gianna's attention away from Bruno. "You had bombs. You had Lorenzo, but you're still here. Still talking. Still trying to make him understand." "Shut up!" Gianna's voice cracked. "You loved him." Anita took another step. "Maybe not at first. Maybe not when the Marcellus sent you. But somewhere along the way you actually fell for him." "I said shut up!" Gianna swung the gun toward Anita. Bruno moved. He launched himself at Gianna, crossing the distance in 3 strides. The gun fired the shot going wide, shattering what remained of a window. They collided. Gianna screamed, clawing at his face with burned hands. Bruno grabbed her wrist, slamming it against the ground once, twice. The gun skittered across the floor. Anita dove for it. Her fingers closed around the grip, just as Gianna wrenched free from Bruno, producing a knife from somewhere small, vicious, already slashing toward his throat. "No!" Anita raised the gun, her hands steady despite the terror screaming through her veins. Time fractured. Gianna's knife arced toward Bruno's neck. Bruno twisted, catching her wrist but off balance, vulnerable. Anita's finger found the trigger. The world narrowed to this single, impossible moment. And Anita fired. The bullet caught Gianna in the shoulder, spinning her backward. The knife clattered away. Gianna stumbled, her eyes wide with shock. "You shot me," she whispered. "You tried to kill him." Anita's voice didn't shake. "Tried to kill me, tried to kill everyone he loves." Gianna pressed a hand to her shoulder, blood seeping between her fingers. "I could have given him everything. Power, legacy, a real empire." "He didn't want your empire," Anita said quietly. "He wanted the truth." "The truth?" Gianna laughed, the sound wet and broken. "The truth is that I won. Even if I die here, I destroyed everything he built, his headquarters, his reputation, his trust." Her gaze locked on Bruno. "I destroyed you." "No." Bruno stepped forward, his expression carved from stone. "You destroyed yourself." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Red and blue lights painted the smoke. Gianna swayed, her legs buckling. She caught herself against a scorched pillar, her breathing ragged. "The baby," she whispered. "Did you know I actually wanted it to be yours? I prayed it would be. Because then, maybe I could have loved you both." Bruno's jaw tightened. "But it wasn't mine." "No!" Tears cut through the soot on Gianna's face. "It was Lorenzo's. Always Lorenzo's." She looked at Anita. "He never loved me either. Not really. We were just 2 people using each other to destroy someone better than both of us." Police burst onto the scene, weapons drawn, voices shouting commands. Paramedics followed, and chaos swallowed everything. Gianna didn't resist as they cuffed her hands and read her rights. She just stared at Bruno, hollow and defeated. "I hope she's worth it," she said as they led her away. Bruno didn't answer. He was already moving toward Anita, his hands framing her face, checking for injuries with desperate intensity. "Are you hurt?" His voice was raw. "I'm okay." Anita caught his wrists, steadying him. "I'm okay, Bruno. You shot her." "I saved you." She managed a shaky smile. "We're even now." "Anita," his voice cracked. Whatever he'd been about to say dissolved as he pulled her against him, his arms crushing her close. She felt him trembling, this man of stone and steel, shaking like the world had nearly ended. Maybe it had. "It's over," she whispered against his chest. "It's finally over." 3 months later, the new headquarters rose from the ashes of the old, sleeker, stronger, better protected. Anita stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of Bruno's office, watching the city wake beneath a golden sunrise. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. No more waitress uniforms, no more hiding. "You're up early." She turned. Bruno stood in the doorway, 2 coffee mugs in his hands, his shirt untucked, his expression soft in a way that still surprised her. "Couldn't sleep," she admitted. "Nightmares?" "Memories." She took the coffee he offered. "It's different now, though. Less terrifying. More surreal. Gianna's trial starts next week." Bruno moved beside her, his shoulder brushing hers. "The prosecution thinks they have enough for 3 life sentences." "Good." Anita sipped her coffee. "And Lorenzo?" "Died in custody. Heart attack." Bruno's tone was carefully neutral. "Or so they're saying." Anita glanced at him. "You don't believe them?" "I think," Bruno said slowly, "that Salvatore Marcelli doesn't like loose ends. And Lorenzo knew too much. So he's just gone. Like it was all a bad dream." "Not a dream." Bruno's hand found hers, fingers intertwining. "A nightmare. But we survived it." "We did." Anita squeezed his hand. "Though I still can't believe you made me head of security operations. You spotted a bomb the experts missed. You saved my family. You saved me." His mouth curved. "Besides, you're the only person I trust completely. That's terrifying for both of us." "Probably." He pulled her closer, his free hand lifting to cup her face. "Stay with me." "I am staying with you. I literally live here now. I don't mean just in this building." His dark eyes burned into hers. "I mean in my life, in whatever comes next, in everything." Anita's breath caught. "Bruno, the night you whispered in Sicilian saved my life," he said quietly, echoing the words she'd heard him say a dozen times since that terrible night. "But every day since then, you've given me something I thought I'd lost forever." "What's that?" "A reason to build something that isn't just about survival." He pressed his forehead to hers. "Stay, please." Anita closed her eyes, feeling the weight and wonder of what he was offering. A life, a future, a choice that was wholly, completely hers. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay?" "Yes." She opened her eyes, finding him watching her with an intensity that still made her pulse race. "I'm staying, but I have conditions." "Name them." "No more keeping me in the dark to protect me. We face things together." "Done. And I get to renovate the kitchen. That espresso machine is from the dark ages." "Absolutely not." He stopped when he saw her expression. "Fine, but I'm picking the tile." "Deal." She smiled, real and warm. "Also, I want a dog. A dog. A big one. Something intimidating. To match the aesthetic." Bruno laughed, actually laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "You're going to turn my life upside down." "Too late." Anita rose on her toes, pressing a soft kiss to his jaw. "I already have." His arms tightened around her, and for a long moment they just stood there, wrapped in sunrise and silence and the hard-won peace of survival. "Thank you," Bruno murmured against her hair. "For what?" "For speaking Sicilian that night. For being brave when you should have run. For staying when anyone else would have left." He pulled back just enough to meet her gaze. "For choosing me." "Well," Anita said, her smile turning playful, "you're not that bad, once you get past the murderous wife and exploding buildings." High praise. "Don't let it go to your head." But she kissed him anyway, slow and sweet and full of promise. Outside, the city stretched endlessly, full of danger and possibility, and 1,000 futures waiting to be written. Anita Davila had whispered in Sicilian and changed 2 lives forever. And the life they built afterward? It belonged to both of them.